is awesome. This is huge. This is extraordinary. I'm excited. I'm Dr. Randall Hall Walker. Thank you for tuning in to Journey to Greatness broadcast with Randall and Skrdla Hall Walker. My awesome, extraordinary, powerful wife is with me as my co-host. Would you give it up for Skrdla Hall Walker? And I have an extraordinary guest with us today. I'm so excited. My awesome sister and my brother-in-law, and we're going to be talking about interracial marriage today. We're going to deal with that because it's a real issue. I remember back when I was in Bible college that there was this Caucasian young lady that I was considering marrying, and I called my pastor, excited, ignited, enthused, and infused, and he shut it down. He said, "Oh no, your ministry would never succeed. Oh no, don't do it." So I began to pray for a black woman. I thought that was funny. And as a matter of fact, you heard me on one of my previous broadcasts share with you the letter I wrote over 33 years ago, asking God to give me this awesome, extraordinary wife, Skrdla Hall Walker, and God blessed me with her. So I am happy, and so we're going to take you down a journey to greatness with this awesome couple, my wonderful sister who lives in Phoenix, Arizona, her and her wonderful husband, Mike. We're just thrilled that they're with us as our guests, and we're going to be sharing. And so I want to ask them a couple of questions about interracial marriages because some of you may or may not be for it. I don't know. You who are watching, call us right now at 704-322-8010 and give us your opinion, whether you're for or against interracial marriages. But I want to have my darling sister, I want her to share with you how they met and just kind of share with us a little insight and how there in Phoenix, is it accepted? Because some parts of the South, interracial marriages is frowned upon, and then other areas is accepted, and others have their viewpoint on it. So I just thought it would be a great show to come to you by way of television and share with you my wonderful sister and her husband and how they met, and get your opinion, and let's talk about it. Let's just talk. Can we do that? All right, would you give it up for my wonderful sister, Carol?
Well, you put already out there a couple of questions, so I'll start with Phoenix.
Yeah.
And Arizona. It's in the Southwest, and there seems to be like a level of acceptance there for interracial couples that I haven't seen in other places. And it's really interesting. African Americans in Arizona in the Phoenix area are only like 5% of the population.
Really?
When I landed here in North Carolina, I was so happy. I was speaking to everybody. I was like, I see black people. And it was like so great, and so, the reason why I'm mentioning that is because one of the things that I did, I'm very curious all the time, like why is that so, that there's a level of acceptance of African Americans in Arizona that I haven't seen in other places. And honestly, it comes down to this: there's just not any type of historical conflict for African Americans there.
Right.
The state is not without conflict. It tends to be more around Latinos, the Hispanic people, and Native Americans. But historically, you can go back a couple of hundred years or so, and you won't see the trouble for blacks there that you see in other states.
And that makes sense because, I'm looking back and watching Westerns back in the day, and I didn't see a lot of black cowboys.
You didn't, right? There were few when they did show up. There never seemed to be any type of disconnect. And so I went deeper into my research. I found that it is like one of two states in the southern region that has never had a single lynching.
Wow.
So when you look at a lot of the conflict that people have in races, so much of it is an inherited conversation.
Yes.
And what I mean by that is we all have that. We all have inherited conversations about everything. Black people shouldn't marry white people. Where did you get that from?
Right.
And I was told that. I was told when I was 6 or 7 years old that I should not marry a white man, and this was after I was kissing Elvis on the television screen. You know, and I got caught by a family member that said, "I know you're not kissing that white guy, Elvis. He don't even like black people." And I just remember us talking, and I said, "Why shouldn't I marry a white man?" And the conversation that I got that day was that white men had always taken advantage of black women in this country, and that I would be lowering my standards and degrading myself if I dated one.
That's very interesting.
Yeah.
You know, one of the things that, the arguments that I've heard is that in the Word of God, it talks about the mixed multitude. And then it also talks about the Samaritans marrying with the Jews, that it was forbidden. So they'll use scripture. It's amazing how you can take scripture to support any view you want. It's amazing.
Yeah.
And people have done that. But I think the key here is, number one, for couples to be happy. If you are happy, that's everything right there. Because you can be in a marriage and be unhappy, and that's miserable. But if you have the right person for you, then that's key. Now, one of the questions I hear a lot of times is concerned to kids. Because, you know, the kids back in the day, they were cruel towards them. They would call them zebras and different things because of interracial marriages. The kids suffered a lot because they go to school and their mom may have been white and their dad was black, or vice versa. And so they automatically had a certain look about themselves. It was obvious that they had come from a mixed couple. And so that created a lot of ill feelings a lot of times for young people, and they were bullied and talked about and different things like that. So kind of give us your take on, I know back in the day, back in the early 60s, I grew up in Detroit, Michigan, and racism wasn't as really prevalent. I know in Dearborn, the mayor there, Mayor Hubbard, I know you probably remember him and his son, they forbid it, blacks were in other words, they could, right, to live out there, you got it.
Yeah.
So, but today is a new day, and it seems to be more accepted. I have one of our guests here is named Pastor Michael Davis. He's our guest today. He's not on the show, but he's in the audience. And this young man pastored an all-white Southern Baptist church for 4 years. That's unheard of in the South. Now, in Florida, maybe it might be a little different because that's not considered the South. But for that to happen in Charlotte, North Carolina, just blew me away. So give us a little feedback, Mike. I know that you grew up in a area mostly with Caucasians and different things. How did this whole thing of marrying a black woman come to a reality?
Well, basically, for me growing up, it was a lot of white people where I grew up, right? But I'd always been like intrigued and attracted to beautiful.
I
You
know
know,
what
it
you
doesn't
mean.
matter. It doesn't matter what color, just look beautiful. But anyway.
That says a lot for you.
But to me, you know, I was in a marriage previous that, you know, it wasn't that great, right? So the happiness wasn't there. And so to me, that's what matters.
Yes,
Is
I agree.
the happiness. So, you know, it's funny, we met, and you know how you tell your kids, say, you know, quit texting all the time, you know, like stuff like that, right? And so we met on a Saturday. By Wednesday, we had 3,000 texts back and forth.
Wow.
So it was just like an instant connection, an instant love, I'd say.
Yeah.
Right.
We
And
were
you
definitely in love.
Yeah, you guys have been married, I think, about 3 years, close to 3 years in
Yeah,
October.
3 years in October.
And that's great. And I've been around you guys. The marriage
Yeah.
is going great, and you guys are just a great couple. And it's just amazing to see how God has made you so happy. Being your brother, I know how happy you are, and I'm
I'm
happy
so
for
happy.
you. And that, yes,
I am.
yes, that is awesome. Now, my darling baby, she dated, I think, a Caucasian gentleman. And what was that like for you?
Well, I was with my family, they came over, and I remember one of them was having a little problem with it. And I remember telling them that you either accept or you have to leave. Because this is my life, this is what I've chosen, and this is, it isn't a preference, it's just what you're attracted to, the happiness, the joy of just, you're looking at the person, but you're not seeing color.
Yeah.
You're just seeing that love and that happiness that you've longed for. So after my family realized where I was with me, they then respected him, and there was no issues. I had no issues. Even with our son, there was no issues behind that.
That's good. That is really wonderful. Well, I'm so excited to have you all on the show to share your story. Tell us, we only have about a couple of more minutes in the broadcast, but tell us how you met and how this whole thing just unfolded over 3 years ago, and just how things just began to unfold for you guys and what it looked like and that
Sure.
type of thing.
So, Mike likes for me to tell it. I'll tell a very abbreviated version of it, but
She's the best storyteller
me too.
of our relationship.
You do pretty well too. So, but
Wasn't that? Come on, y'all.
But we both had been married for a long time to other people. For him, 22 years, for me, 25 years.
Wow.
And when you're raised with the belief system, as we both were, that when you get married and you make a promise, you keep that. And yet and still it ended. And I had trouble wrapping my mind around that, even though I was the one that made the decision. And when I sat with what I really wanted in my life, it's when I realized that I had a say in how my life should go.
Wow, that's good.
And one of the things that I was committed to was having a loving relationship. And I knew it was possible because I had seen that with my parents.
Yeah.
So I shared with some girlfriends what I wanted, and it started real basic. I'm like, I want to have partnership, friendship, and romance, and I want to be loved the way I want to be loved. You know,
That's beautiful.
people will tell you that they love you, and they do. But there's a way that we all want to be loved,
That's
things we
right.
want to hear, and things like that. And so I said, that's what I want. And my girlfriend asked me a very important question. She said, what does that look like? And I said, it looks like a dance. We have perfect rhythm. It's never awkward between us. And I'm like, when we cook, everything is in rhythm. She said, you cook together? And I said, yeah. And I was picturing like I was peeling and this person was wiping. And so then she said, what does he look like? And I said, he's tall. And I said, he has a superhero jaw. And I said, and when we hold hands, it's never awkward. It's always in rhythm. She said, what's this guy's name? And so I was kind of annoyed by that, and looking back, and I shared this with my husband, I thought in that moment, with everything I was saying, that might apply to my ex-husband. I still kind of had some hope there, right, that maybe we could get it together. And so I was reluctant to name a name, and finally I looked at her and I said, well, there was this guy I had a big crush on when I was 14. And she said, what was his name? And I said, Aquaman. And I was talking about the 1970s Aquaman. If you remember him, he was tall and blonde, but I was joking. And 2 weeks later, I was sitting in a classroom, literally just sitting there, and I heard a voice say, get up and go now. And it was audible to the point that I turned to the person to my right, and then I heard it again, get up and go now. And the second time I complied, and I got up, and I thought that the Spirit was trying to alert me about my children. And that wasn't the case at all. There was a message there from a friend that asked me to come and hear this speaker. And I get in my car, I didn't even check out the classroom, and I just drove to that location. And when I got out the car, still just following my heart, and walked in, I saw this man standing in the distance, and he was just writing in a notepad, and I remember just stopping. And not stopping like, dang, that guy is fine. It wasn't like that at all. It was like something smacked me. And there was a guy there that we both knew, and he came over, and I said, Pat, who is that guy? And he said, that's Mike Skrdla, let me introduce you. And I remember shaking his hand and being so uncomfortable. And as he said, Saturday is when we really connected. I ran out of that place that night because everything that was happening really did frighten me.
Wow.
I was uneasy with it. And the next day, I'm at an event, completely different event. There's 400 people in this room, and I'm telling my girlfriend about the guy and the whole night, and something spoke to me. And I go to put my sweater on the back of my chair, and he was sitting right behind me, and he waved at me.
Wow, wow. Isn't that great? Well, listen, we're out of time, but we're gonna pick up next week. We're gonna do our very best to come back to you by way of television and share with you all the conclusion of this great story. You who are watching by way of television, I trust you have enjoyed the broadcast. Call us at 704-322-8010, and operators are standing by to take your call. So delighted that you joined us tonight with my special guest and my awesome darling baby, Skrdla Hall Walker. So we gotta go. We are out of time right now, but we're so grateful to you for joining us. Again, I'm Dr. Randall Hall Walker, and I say thank you.